So here we have Basics 6. If you're watching this video, you didn't like your grade. Plain and simple, right? So, all right, so let's get to work. Let's see, what we're going to do here is we're going to counteract this division of 5 by multiplication of 5, and we have to 5 both sides. There's a cancellation on the left. We don't distribute that 5 inside the parentheses. There's cancellation on the left. And this will leave me with twice 4x minus 5 equal to a massive 35. The easiest thing to do here is just distribute that 2 now. 8x minus 10, still equal to 35. We're going to add 10, so 8x is 35. Oh, sorry, not 35. Wake up, Milbrath. 45, right? And then we're just going to divide out that 8. So 45 eighths. And we'll approach 2 from the same manner. We're going to 4 both sides. And be careful when you do this. The first thing you have to do in writing and solving absolute values, you have to isolate absolute value. That's why I'm doing this. 4's cancel on the left. So that leaves me with 3 absolute values of 6x minus 3 equal to, and you got to make sure you distribute that 4 to both terms. 28 take away 12x. Now, you are allowed to distribute to the interior on absolute value, so I'm tripling everything inside. Absolute value is that one thing you can do it with because it's a v, and v's are linear. That's why you're allowed to do it. I don't know if you comprehend what I mean by that or not, but because it's linear, you're allowed to use the distributive property. And so we have the absolute value of 18x minus 9 equals 28 minus 2x. Now we're going to write our two equations here. 18x minus 9 equals 28 minus 12x, or negative 18x plus 9 equals 28 minus 12x. You have to write and solve two equations for absolute value. It's just what it is. All right, so I'm going to add 12x to 18x. That would give me 30x. I'm going to add 9 to 28. 28 plus 9, I feel like, is 37. And you just divide out your 30. And there's one of your answer choices, choice 3. On the other one, we'll just do the same logic here. We're going to add 12x to negative 18x. That's negative 6x. We're going to subtract 9 from 28. That's 19. And then we shall divide out our negative 6. So, looks like it's choices 1 and 3. Those are the correct answers. All right. 3, you'll notice it says select 2, and this is before I've given this quiz, but I can fully guarantee you that lots of kids will only pick 1. And even though it's an x squared, remember 2 solutions? That's how this works. Find the roots, also known as your zeros, by factoring using the zero product property. You know, it wouldn't have bothered me if a kid did the QF, looking ahead, because some kids can't factor. But it is what it is. Let's see, you got a 5x and x to make 5x squared. I need to make a 4 now, so I'm going to use a 4 and 1 in this particular order because the outside is going to make 20x and the inside is going to make x. And I'm talking about the FOIL method at the same time. I need it to be a positive 20x and negative x. So these are my two factors. So, you know, the ZPP, zero product property, says 5x minus 1 is a 0, or x plus 4 is a 0. Now, if x plus 4 is a 0, we just jump that 4 over, makes it negative. So choice 5 was correct. Here we have a two-stepper. 5x is 1, divide by 5, x is a fifth. There you go. Choices 2 and 5. All right, over here on this right-hand side, what used to be ACT-style questions, they've updated the ACT, so I'm not sure what they look like anymore. What is the equation of a circle centered at 5, negative 4 with a radius equal to 3? Well, STD form of a circle is pretty simply x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equal to r squared. So you'll notice the plus sign there. It means I'm not A. Now, if you take a 3 and you square it, you get 9. So I'm not B. And just think about what's going to happen to these numbers as you plug them in, okay? If I take away 5, I'm going to be looking for minus 5. If I take away a negative 4, I'm looking for plus 4. Choice D. All right, moving on. Trig. Trig is so easy, but for the last 5 or 6 years, I've noticed kids really struggle with trig. It is legit as easy as so, ka, toa. And trig is so easy. Now, I wish it would click for you. You're supposed to find the tangent of b. So I'm looking at the TOA part. Opposite over adjacent. That's opposite, that's adjacent. Now, kids do struggle knowing the difference between opposite and adjacent, and that's something you need to work on. But anyways, the tangent of b would be 5 root 3 over 5, the opposite length over adjacent length, and the 5's cancel, and you just end up with the root of 3. And nobody wants your decimals. Nobody wants them. Not unless it's a real world application problem where we actually caring about what the decimal is. And even then, not till the end. All right, give me just a moment and I'll be right back. All right, moving on to number 4 here. Rewrite the quadratic in vertex form into standard form. So if something is squared, you're going to write her down twice. And, you know, I don't know, talking to you individually, I don't know if you like the box method or FOIL method. I noticed most of you did not like vertical multiplication, so we're just not going to talk about her anymore, okay? X times x is x squared, x times the negative 2 is negative 2x, x times the negative 2 is negative 2x, and negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. So what I did is I worked on this first, and you should do things the way Mr. Milbrath suggests you do things. You should not try to do it your own way. It'd be cool if your own way was right, but it's usually not. You need to get that in your head. You do things the way things are modeled. That's how you do things. Nobody's trying to limit you or restrict you. We're just trying to show you the best way that we know how to do it. So anyways, we have x squared minus 4x, if we put those together, plus 4. That's kind of a hard pill to swallow. Like, you should do things the way somebody else wants you to. Like some people are probably like, well, they're restricting my kid's creativity. No, we're not. We're just trying to make sure your kid gets it right. And if your kid was right doing it their own way, it wouldn't be a problem. So what I've done now is I've doubled everything. And now I can worry about the addition. I couldn't do it earlier. Don't be that kid who tries to add it right here. These are in parentheses. They're locked away. But now you can do it. If you put 8 and 5 together, you'll get 13. So choice A. Here we have function notation. And boy, function notation really bugs kids. And it's just as simple as a lineup process. Like, literally, this is saying x is becoming negative 2. So f of negative 2 is 5 times the negative 2, take away 7. Of course, we have the problem with arithmetic here. And it's going to get a lot of y'all. But this is negative 10 minus 7. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Then you take away 7 more. It's not 3. It's not negative 3. It's negative 17. If you don't believe me, push buttons, okay? If you don't believe me, push buttons. You'll get it right. Now, here we have this notation, f plus g of 2. What this is this is f composed of a negative 2 plus g composed of a negative 2. And you can think of it as f of negative 2 plus g of negative 2. Now, we literally just did f of negative 2 right here. And it was negative 17, okay? We need to find g of negative 2, which again means that x is going to become negative 2. And we'll crank out some math. We still got this negative 17. Here we have 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. And negative 8 take away 5 is negative 13. And if you put those two quantities together, you get negative 30. Again, if you don't believe me, just push some buttons. I was nice enough to give you the formula for average rate of change because I was curious if having that formula down would give more of you to get it correct. I am curious. I don't actually believe it'll happen. I'm just curious. But anyways, you get A and B from this guy right here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find f of b. I find f of b by plugging in a 3. And so many of you guys are just so weak at just computational ability. You know, you don't have to use a storage feature. You can only just type 2 parentheses 3 squared minus 3 times 3. You do need to work on your ability to do computations, by the way. You get 9. It'd be cooler if you could do it by hand, but we both know y'all struggle. Now we're going to find f of a. It's twice a negative 2 squared minus 3 times a negative 2. And let's crank that one out. let's just assume I don't know what I'm doing. Part of the reason I'm just showing that you can do things in the calculator. So many of y'all don't. I think you're scared of it. You get 14. And now we're just going to plug in our little formula over here. That's all we're going to do. So f of b was found to be 9. So it's 9 minus. F of a was found to be 14. And the bottom is b minus a, which is 3 minus a negative 2. Now, 9 minus 14 is negative 5. 3 minus a negative 2 is positive 5. And a negative over a positive is negative. And 5 over 5 is 1. So the average rate of change is negative 1. And, you know, there's going to be kids who just refuse to do math. And I should probably have made this one of the answer choices. But if you use a calculator, you better make sure you do it right. You know, they won't even change the takeaway negative positive. That's something that's wrong, right? You know, you go to math, you go to num, you go to n over d. Although honestly, it takes longer to type this in than it would just to do the calculations. Minus a negative 2. I told you it was negative 1. It wasn't kidding. All right, take me a small break, let my brain wake up. So I paused and I never unpaused, and I came back and I worked out a whole bunch of questions. So I'm just going to leave this up and you can kind of study a little bit. But I noticed I said factors come from zeros. So then I started crossing out things that were not zeros. This one's not a 0, this one's not a 0. Then I looked at function notation. This guy right here literally says x is 3. So to create the factor, I shift the 3 left, which means that x minus 3 is a factor. As soon as I saw that, I threw away choice A and choice D. Then I looked at this guy right here. It says x is negative 1, so the factor is x plus 1. Still couldn't narrow it down anymore between B and C. Then I looked over here and I saw x equals 1. I shift it left, I get x minus 1. And there's nothing else. So it's choice B. There is no factor that creates this 3x, this x right here. Number 9, I figured out that the difference was 7. And I know the first term is negative 1, so I just plugged those into the formula over here. Nothing more. Did the distributive property. And if you add negative 1 and negative 7 together, you'll get negative 8. Number 10, I plugged into the form I've been trying to teach y'all, which is y equals a times x minus h plus k. I let a be slope. The point gives me an h and a k value. I did the distributive property. I even showed how to do it in a calculator. Because, you know, you got negative 2/5. There it is. I literally, because, you know, kids don't want to push buttons. They got negative 2. So, lastly, negative 2 and 4 makes positive 2. That really stinks that I forgot to hit that. And I did number 11, and I spent so much time on 11, but I had it paused. So your vertex is at HK. H would be opposite B over 2A. So B is 4, opposite of positive 4 is a negative 4. A is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, and negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Now to find K, you take that thing and you plug it in. And, you know, when I was doing my unrecorded session here, I just pushed buttons in a calculator, and I got negative 10. So I plotted that. Then I drew in the line of symmetry, and the equation for that is x equals negative 2. It's a vertical line. It has an x value of negative 2. And then we found the y-intercept. To find a y-intercept, you let x be 0. So 0 squared plus 4 zeros is still 0. Take away 6, you get negative 6. And now I'm about ready to start over. All right, so we're at key features of a graph. State the domain of the piecewise function. So here's what you need to pay attention to. Right there's a hole in the graph. X cannot be negative 4. Now there's a hole here that's saying that x cannot be 2, but this one down here is saying x is 2. So that kind of disappears. So the only thing you're not allowed to be is negative 4. That's choice A. So blah, 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 blah. It's not choice A, it's choice B. You're allowed to be everything between 5 and negative 4, and you're allowed to be everything between negative 4 and 7. All right, range. I know what range does to kids. and it's never good. This piece right here has a y value of -3, and it's the only piece right here. Like there's a big jump to the next y value. So I'm looking for something that only talks about -3. See how these two talk about -3? I'm not choice A. I'm not. Sorry. All right, now here is where y is 0, and you'll notice that y cannot be 0 because there's a hole there. This little guy is saying that y cannot be 5, but this guy is saying y is 5, so that one's thrown away. I get to be everything between 0 and 5. And interestingly enough, and I need to fix this, B and C look identical, don't they? Yeah, I need to fix that by tomorrow. So I don't know which one's going to be right on quiz day, because I haven't fixed the quiz yet. I think I'm going to change this one to a parentheses, keep that one a bracket. So it's going to be choice C. All right. The state intervals where the graph is increasing, that means we have uphill slope from left to right. And that's going to be this piece right here. And the x values, and that's the struggle, it's the x values that make it uphill. The x values that make it uphill start just after -4 and stop just before 2. That's choice C. Decreasing is a downhill idea. By the way, we read left to right. That's part of it. We read left to right. It starts decreasing when x is -5, and it stops decreasing when x gets close to -4. So it's going to be choice B. Constant is a flat line. That's what you're looking for, the flat line, which is right here. And it starts when x is close to 2, and when x is 2, and it stops when x is close to 7. That's choice A. Negativity means below the x-axis. And that's just this piece right here. From 2 to 7, the graph is below the x-axis. Positive means above the x-axis. And let me do some erasure. It's true from there to there and there to there. Now, by the way, x cannot be -4. So -4 doesn't need to have a bracket on it or something like that. But there needs to be some indication of a jump happening at -4. So I am allowed to be everything from 5 to -4 and everything from -4 to 2. Choice C. State the x-intercepts, the zeros, doesn't have any. There's a hole there. Doesn't exist. Will lots of kids pick something? Yes. The y-intercept is about right here. That's where x is 0, and the y value is bigger than 3, right? Bigger than 3. So 0, 3.2. Determine the average rate of change over the interval from -5 to 2. So I've explained this numerous times, but it doesn't seem to want to stick. You put a solid dot on your graph where x is -5. This is where x is -5. Then you put a solid dot on your graph where x is 2. Now right here, x cannot be 2 because that's a hole, so the point has to be down here. And then you just go back to a middle school mentality of rise over run, and you're good to go. This thing is going to fall 8 units. You can count the blocks, or you can look at the numbers. 5 to -3, they're 8 units apart. So we fall 8, and then we're going to run from 5 to 2, we run 7. So we fell 8, we ran 7. Find f of 2 if it does not exist, state why. F of 2 does exist. It doesn't exist here, but it exists here, and it's -3. Find f of -4. F of -4 does not exist. So it does not exist. The reason it does not exist is because x cannot be -4. I also accept hole in graph. And there's another one here. There's at least one more problem. There it is. If the line y equals 0 were graphed, how many intersections will there be with f of x? So this one's going to be missed pretty bad. For starters, we don't know what y equals 0 looks like. there wouldn't be anything. That, by the way, is y equals 0. It's a horizontal line where y is 0. There is no intersection because it's passing through a hole, and there's nothing in a hole. I don't know why that's such a hard concept. Anyways, that is basic 6, mostly worked out. Sorry about the gap in the video. I just don't have enough time to do it over. Sorry. If you didn't like your grade, study, do a retake. Or if you missed the original one, you got to do the retake.